It is the media that is causing the racial divisions in the United States. You can see it in their framing, in the way they do anything, in all of their reporting. And we're going to go through some of it now because it's awful. It is the most awful and most racist thing that you can imagine. Now, I hate saying the word racist now because it's been so debauched and like, oh, this racist, that was racist, blah, 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 blah. But I mean, it's just hard not to describe it like that. It really is that bad.
Unironic racial bigotry.
Yes, and a hatred of a particular race. And that's it comes through very clear. And of course, this is because of the acquittal of Kyle Rittenhouse. So let's just begin with a random verified checkmark. Do you know who this guy is?
Nope.
Nope, but he's a verified checkmark on Twitter. The fix was in for the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Judge Bruce Schroeder did everything in his power to ensure the acquittal of a murderer who will now parlay this fame into a career as a right-wing rock star. It only cost him 3 black lives. No?
Whoa. They were politically black.
Apparently, according to Ida Bay Wells, they were politically black. But he got chewed out on this, and he had to post a mea culpa, which he did, and fingered the next one. You can see he's like, I removed a factually inaccurate tweet. And the thing is, there were people saying, and Lauren Chen here, like, well, why were you so quick to give your opinion about a case you so clearly knew nothing about, right? This dude is a content strategist at PlayStation. What are you doing?
PlayStation has an opinion on Kyle Rittenhouse.
Exactly. Shut up and make video games. Like, who are you? You know
also,
what?
I'm sorry, but like, I removed a factually inaccurate tweet as if he got like a decimal point wrong or something.
Yeah.
It was like, no, this is like thinking Thomas Jefferson is the current president.
Yeah.
Level of inaccurate.
Yeah, it's just he knows nothing about what's going on, and yet he decided, oh, I must virtue signal about this on Twitter anyway, right? That's just one example, because what you can infer from this is that he's existing in a media environment that has been lying to him. He was led to believe that Kyle Rittenhouse had killed 3 black people. Now, he had killed 2 white people and wounded a 3rd. But who cares? You know, what matters is what was going on, not the race of the people involved. Because, I mean, even if it was 3 black people who were attacking Kyle Rittenhouse, he would have been justified in self-defense.
Look, the facts of the case might be important to someone who cares about issue politics.
Well, yeah.
But someone who only cares about race politics,
Look,
race is the only thing.
If you're not a racist, then you might care about this stuff. But anyway, yeah. And so we've got an example of this, right? Here's The Independent. This is archived because they did change it afterwards, after people pointed out that, full story, teenager who shot 3 black men with rifle found not guilty on all charges. This has been going on for a year. A year. And then The Independent's like, oh, we better typo. He shot 3 black men. You can watch the footage and see he didn't shoot 3 black men. You obviously haven't watched the footage. You obviously don't know what you're talking about, and you're lying to the public. Just one example.
I mean, a huge media outlet in the UK.
Exactly, massive.
And, I mean, this is like CNN or something. Right, yeah, he killed black men.
Yeah, exactly. And CNN, I think, had implied that with their coverage, but I don't think they directly said it. But anyway, so you've got Glenn Greenwald pointing out that from the view from Brazil, well, all of them were saying that Rittenhouse had shot and killed 2 black men, and they all had to remove it, and they'd got this from US media, which had deliberately cultivated this false narrative. Again, the lazy journalists, they hadn't watched the footage. There's loads of footage of Kyle Rittenhouse being attacked by these people.
Pictures of the guys who got shot.
Well, yeah, I mean,
like, they're not very brown.
Well, no, they're pasty, obviously. But the point is, they could have watched the footage, but they didn't. They didn't do any due diligence on this issue and just parroted the narrative that they assumed was true, that they'd been, as I say, cultivated by the US media outlets. And so let's just go through some of the responses now about how the media is framing this. Kyle Rittenhouse has walked free. Now it's open season on protesters, say The Guardian. Oh, really?
God, I wish.
I do not want to
Joking.
I do not want to discuss the legal particulars of the verdict. Yeah, I bet, because it's going to destroy your entire narrative if you did, right? Of course you don't want to. Why would you want that?
Well, I'm not here to discuss the facts. However.
That's exactly right? In essence, the Rittenhouse ruling has created a kind of stand your ground law for the whole country. Yeah.
That was already
yes. Yeah, exactly. You already, in the United States, had the right to self-defense. You already had that. That's what this is about. But as you can see, they're like, well, now people are just going to think they can defend themselves from any mob that are coming after them that want to kill them.
Yes. So when all these evil right-wingers you keep telling us about turn up and try and murder you
can...
Leftist,
exactly.
You get to defend yourself.
But they know that that's not going to happen.
No.
They know that mobs of right-wingers are not going to turn up to attack them, but mobs of left-wingers will turn up to attack right-wingers, and now those right-wingers can defend themselves. That's terrible for the communist revolution. Right? White people now have the apparent right to travel around the country, yeah, heavily armed, yeah, and use violence to protect the country from whatever and whoever they believe to be threatening it. Yeah.
It's getting very Martin Luther there. White people shouldn't be able to travel.
Yeah. Get to the back of the bus, white person. Right, but no, white people can travel around and use violence to protect the country. Yes. That's good for everyone, isn't it? Why would you? I mean, you say white people. I mean, you don't have to specify white people. You just say people.
Black people can do it too.
Yeah. Literally any shade of people. Yeah, exactly. Literally any shade of person can be armed and protect themselves in America. That's one of the good things about that country. Given the feverish paranoia and racism that has captured a sizable minority of white people in the US these days, this is a recipe for disaster. She's not calling it Antifa there, but it really sounds like she is. The most worrying effect of this verdict may be giving right-wing vigilantes a legal precedent to take up arms against anyone they consider a threat, which runs from anti-fascists to so-called rhinos, and includes almost all people of colour, meant it's now open hunting season on progressive protesters. Don't say based, don't say based.
Well, no. Legally speaking, true, because if they do perceive them as a threat and they're correct, they will be found not guilty.
Yes, but what she's also saying here, if it's open season on progressive protesters, then progressive protesters are violent psychopaths who are trying to kill you.
Yes,
because it's only legal in self-defense.
As mentioned, they have to perceive the progressive protester as a threat.
Exactly.
And be correct.
And if they're literally approaching you with guns and they're firebombing your cities and stuff like that, well, maybe that is a threat.
Yeah. I mean,
so maybe the protesters who are progressive could be less violent.
I mean, in Portland, I think the worst example, ignoring the courthouse, was there was a Starbucks, and these guys threw Molotov cocktails and stuff and fireworks into the Starbucks. Above the Starbucks is literally just a block of apartments with families in. And they didn't give a toss.
Nope.
I was like, right, yeah, you do have a right to defend yourself against such people.
Yes, and that's good, because these people are breaking the law.
They will burn you and your families
and they're
alive
going to kill you
in your apartments.
Yeah.
I mean, these aren't good people.
No, I don't know why the progressives are like, look, they're our guys. How could you say?
Thanks for saying it.
Yeah. How could you say it's okay to shoot these people? Don't get me wrong. This ruling alone did not start this kind of lopsided law and order. It is just the latest in centuries-old American tradition of protecting white terror and vigilantism. Can you not stop yourselves from attacking people? Is that what you're saying? You just can't stop from hurting people. And it's like, oh no, they're going to be able to shoot us back now. Boo-hoo. Anyway, moving on to MSNBC.
But again, they say it like it's a bad thing. Like our centuries-old tradition of being able to shoot violent people who attack us with deadly force.
Yes.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
There's literally one of the things that makes America
Yeah, but
great.
this is the constituent. These are the politicians, essentially, who represent the violent constituency.
Yes.
They're like, okay, so look, we're you know those criminals? They're ours.
It's like debating the IRA.
Yes.
It's like there isn't a debate to be had here.
Very much. Yeah. It's, exactly, it's literally like the IRA say, well, you're not going to shoot our terrorists, are you? Yes, we are.
This sets a dangerous precedent.
That's what it is. That's literally where we're at.
Can't even photolize bomb people. Doing a terrible accent.
Can't even firebomb a city. What are you going to do? Right. So anyway,
Bomb Thatcher in my spare time. What's the point?
MSNBC complained that this is going to embolden white vigilantism. Again, all of the vigilantes were white, but they weren't Republicans. The Rittenhouse verdict easily reads like a referendum on the nation's ongoing clashes over the state of racism in American life. What are you talking about? This is not an expression of mercy towards Rittenhouse, but white vigilantism. Ultimately, I do believe that Rittenhouse behaved irresponsibly and endangered people recklessly. Really. So the people burning down the city weren't endangering people and behaving irresponsibly, but it was Kyle Rittenhouse that was behaving irresponsibly. Why? Because he's white. That's why.
You should let them burn it down, record it, and then take them to court. You know,
that's right.
The British policing, which is so much better. We just let everything burn down and then deal with it afterwards. It's like, no.
They believe that the tragic outcome of his behavior merits some kind of punishment. Why? What, like, I don't know, a laurel wreath? A little medal that says Hero of the Republic? I mean, what sort of punishment are you asking for?
Lifetime supply of beer?
I can't, which he's going to get. Yeah. I mean, let's be fair. When he's 21 and he can go to bars, man, he is not going to have to pay for his own beers, is
also,
he?
any rifle companies out there really need to give him, like, unlimited AR-15 ammo.
And at the end of the day, he's probably going to sue a lot of people. Yeah. So he's going to end up like Nicholas, because, I mean, Nicholas Sandman got it bad, but he got it worse.
I mean, that's the best thing about all this media reporting.
Ultimately, yeah. So, They carry on and say, look, more than this Rittenhouse, I fear the future Rittenhouses to come. So you fear more people who are totally within a line of the law, defending themselves from the violent mobs that you gin up with your reporting.
You know that meme of Alex Jones walking like down a corridor,
Yeah,
and there's loads of him behind him. Like, that's what I've got in mind. Just all got AR-15s.
Okay, I mean, yes, but that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid that other people will be like, hang on, I don't have to be killed in the street by a bunch of communist mobs who are following a narrative of lies that are created by reporters. I can defend myself and the law will be on my side. It's like, yes.
The North Koreans did nothing wrong.
Exactly. That's how it should be. Anyway, moving on, it gets more racist. MSNBC, the law was designed to protect white conservatives who kill. In this article, this article is like 700 words, and they mention the word white 12 times. Right? Rittenhouse, who is white, was 17 when he traveled from his homeland in northeast Illinois to the process of Kenosha. Why did you say that? Rittenhouse is a white teen who abides by white rules, and white people are empathetic to those rules, seem to poised to insulate him from repercussions. So the kid who did nothing wrong is going to be insulated from repercussions, which more terrorism.
Could you imagine talking about the BLM martyrs in that language?
God, no.
It was a black teen who abided by black rules.
George Floyd, who is black, was 39 when, whatever. Exactly. White teen who abides by white rules. Yeah, but they're also rules for black people too.
They're the same rules.
Yeah, exactly. They're not different, but mad. The day he pleaded not guilty to felony homicide, Rittenhouse flashed a white supremacist symbol.
He did the okay side.
That's right. And was loudly serenaded by a group of men at a bar who belted out the anthem of the Proud Boys. I assume that's the American anthem. I don't know what the anthem was.
Chanting about dildos or something.
Just singing, proud to be an American or something. And conservatives are encouraging white vigilantes like Rittenhouse to police progressive spaces by all means. As one Slate article put it last year, own the libs is gradually morphing into kill the libs.
Well, if the libs start trying to kill us, then...
You have the right to self-defense.
Yeah. I also love the idea of him going into progressive spaces. It's like, this is our riot. And this is a safe space for rioting or something like that.
A bunch of heavily armed Kyle Rittenhouses just smiling pleasantly at the rioters.
Not in this neighborhood.
Which sounds great, actually. Yeah. Anyway, moving on to CNN. CNN, again, one of just some of the awful takes. There's nothing more frightening in America today than an angry white man.
Whew.
Is there any evidence at all that Kyle Rittenhouse was angry? He didn't look angry.
Does the Daily Storm have an article with the same words except black?
Probably.
They really
I don't read much of the Daily Storm, so I can't tell you.
Too busy reading CNN.
Yeah, well, exactly. I'm too busy reading their bizarro world opposite that says exactly the same thing. I mean, they're going to have loads of articles that are basically the same, right?
The angry white man, the brute, the buck, and of course the thug.
Yeah, well, what they're doing here is framing it saying, well, look, the spectre of the angry black man has been evoked in politics and popular culture to convince white folks that a big, bad black man, capital B black, by the way, is coming to get them and their daughters. It's like, where are we talking? Like, I remember watching Chris Rock. Like,
most of us didn't grow up watching like Ku Klux Klan films.
Yeah,
you and your parents
didn't watch Triumph of the Will or whatever it was, or what's the other one? What's that KKK one that was in the White?
Birth of a Nation.
That's it. Yeah, Birth of a Nation. Yeah. I didn't actually watch that, so I don't know. I watched.
It's only on your DVD show.
I watched Eddie Murphy. Yeah. But anyway, as I've watched 3 separate trials about white male violence unfold across the US in the past weeks, the Rittenhouse trial, the Ahmaud Arbery death trial, and the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, I've come to the sobering conclusion: there's nothing more frightening in America today than an angry white man. It's not the radical Islamic terrorist that I fear the most, nor is it the brown immigrant or the fiery Black Lives Matter protester.
Fiery.
I mean, at least they admit that Black Lives Matter have been burning things down.
Okay.
It's encountering an armed white man in public who has been inspired by the white men on trial in these 3 cases. And so I love this. It's as if I can't stop myself from attacking a white man I see in public. It's like, okay, well, don't. The question in the Kyle Rittenhouse trace is one of self-defense. But notice they're literally trying to program their readers to hate white men and be afraid of white men.
Like you show them a picture of a white man, they clasp out or something.
Yeah, exactly. There is nothing inherently violent about white men or any human being. No, and one of the things as well, they capitalize white all the way through this. This is what the white nationalists wanted. There is doubtless an article on the Daily Stormer saying we need to get them to capitalize white. They capitalize black. We want them to capitalize white because this implies they're 2 separate nations that don't coexist and commingle.
Can't.
It can't. Yes, exactly. And so, yeah, They say, he says, but recent events have convinced me it's time to put another character on trial, a vision of white masculinity that allows some white men to feel as if they can rule and brutalize without consequence. What are you talking about? You just hate white people, don't you? Let's be honest, this is what this is. You just hate white people. One New York Times columnist, under the headline, "The Angry White Male Caucus," said this anger is driven by white men who fear a changing America, in which the privilege of being a white man isn't what it used to be. Well, why is that? Because you've been actively attacking them. Because you hate them. Honestly, this whole thing, it goes on, but I'm not going to carry on.
But also the idea that white privilege even exists.
Exactly. But you can see,
ridiculous.
well, of course, but you can see them stoking the racial division. This is where it's coming from. It's in their framing. It's in their reporting. They even use capital W white. And they're sat there going, look, be afraid of white men. That's the argument.
But that's what I find with the white privilege thing. It's like, white men are privileged, which is why I can openly write articles on CNN calling them disgusting subhumans.
Exactly. I hate to do the, well, you'd
Can't
never
do that for anyone else.
You'd never find this about a black person on CNN. Of course you wouldn't. You'd only find that on the most virulent white supremacist sites on the internet.
But that point instantly disproves the privilege part.
Exactly.
Well, there is no privilege in having that privilege, is
there? And so, and I mean, you get TV clips. Let's watch MSNBC talking about this.
I find these people disgusting, Ellie. I'm disgusted at what I'm seeing. It's not just this trial, it's other trials. But this in particular, the fact that white supremacists roam the halls of Congress freely and celebrate this little murderous white supremacist, and the fact that he gets to walk the streets freely, it lets you know these people have access to instituting laws. They represent the legislative branch of this country. What are we to make of that?
Welcome to the modern Republican Party. This is what these people want, and this is what a majority of white people vote for. Right? When I say that a majority of white people are in favor of this kind of violence, it is because a majority of white people consistently vote Republican. Since the passage of the Civil Rights Act, a majority of white people have voted Republican, right? So, like, this is the party that they're supporting. A majority of white people pick judges like Bruce Schrader, the judge in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. A majority of white people do not support policies that would unpack and unroll and reform this system of justice. This is what they want. Matt Gaetz is giving the white folks what they want. Look at it. Look at yourselves. It's gross. But until a majority of you stop voting for this, this will keep happening.
If that was, again, this is, majority of people keep voting for what black folks want. It's gross. Look at yourselves. It would be, okay, well, you hate black people, and understandably so.
Also another place for Carl to sue.
Yes.
They just call him a white supremacist.
I mean, a murderous white supremacist terrorist.
Yeah.
It's unreal, and it's because he's white. And again, they're acting as if he shot a bunch of black people. And in fact, this Amber Ruffin, just one of those late night talk show hosts, seems to be totally under the belief that he shot a bunch of black people. Let's watch.
This is gold.
It's not okay for a man to grab a rifle, travel across state lines, and shoot 3 people, and then walk free. It's not okay for the judicial system to be blatantly and obviously stacked against people of color.
What?
It's not okay for there to be an entirely different set of rules for white people. But I don't care about Kyle Rittenhouse. I don't care about that racist judge.
The judge racist now?
I don't care about how up that jury must be. White people have been getting away with murder since time began. I don't care about that. I care about you. And I can't believe I have to say this, but you matter. You matter. Every time one of these verdicts come out, it's easy to feel like you don't, but I'm here to tell you that you do. You matter. You matter so much that the second you start to get a sense that you do, a man will grab a gun he shouldn't have in the first place and travel all the way to another state just to quiet you. That's the power you have.
He didn't shoot a black person.
So don't forget it.
What?
No people of color were harmed in the making of the Carl Rittenhouse film.
No, they weren't. What delusional nonsense is that? Again,
White people have been killing since time immemorial.
Oh yeah, as if there's been literally all of Asia and Africa was just daisy picking and kumbaya chanting. Yeah. No one was ever killed in Africa before the white man arrived
with his devil horns.
Yeah, God, yeah.
Just call us white devils. It's easy.
Yeah, exactly. But what a delusional statement that was, right? Detached of any context, no black people involved. Why is she acting like this? Why is she deliberately lying to her audience? Like, why should they feel anything other than, oh, right, I can defend myself when the communist mob comes to my house?
But that's what I mean. Like, you've got the good point, which is, well, it's about trying to make it acceptable that we have to just submit to the mob.
Yeah.
They were never going to win that. Come on, they're never going to win that argument.
I
That's
know.
why I don't get why they bother with it.
There are a
It's
lot
just
of arguments they've won. I didn't think they were ever going to win as well.
Yeah,
So,
fair point,
at
yeah.
the end of the day, and they went all in on this too.
Yeah.
And like, it's not just the media, of course. There are, of course, radical left-wing politicians who are playing into this absurd narrative as well. Let's go for the Squad. Let's have a listen to what the Squad have to say. What we're witnessing is a system functioning as designed and protecting those who it was designed for, said Ocasio-Cortez, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on Twitter. My heart still breaks for the communities and families whose grief now compounds, and the countless others who will be denied and deprived in similar scenes across the country. Look how vague that is, right? It's good to know that the system that's designed to protect the innocent against the guilty is working as intended.
It's protecting those who harm is being done against.
Yes. It is literally designed to protect the victims against the victimizers, and it did. And Ocasio-Cortez is just like, well, my heart breaks because the system's functioning as intended, and my evil communist revolutionaries weren't able to murder a boy in cold blood in the street. Boo-hoo.
Instead, she's like, yeah, my boys got killed.
Yeah.
Your boys. The wife beater and the pedo.
Yeah.
Right.
And the Gross Crowds have got a bunch of charges against him as well. So it's just like, look,
always forget that one.
Sorry, AOC, that your evil constituency was unable to murder someone this time. The Cori Bush, of course, she says the system isn't built to hold white supremacists accountable. Accountable for what? It's why black and brown folks are brutalized and put in cages while white supremacist murderers walk free.
All the way to Burger King.
Ayanna Pressley and Rashida Tlaib had things to say. Pressley said, racism and white supremacy was the bedrock of our legal system. Right? It's racism when a white man protects himself from 3 other white men.
Well, he's not white. That's
Sure.
the thing. It was a person of color protecting themselves from 3 white men trying to kill him.
Sure, but nobody sees it that way. My heart
Yeah, but legally.
My heart breaks for the family and loved ones of those whose lives for those whose lives were stolen, and the trauma our communities face today and every day. The struggle for accountability, justice, and healing goes on. Justice seems to have been delivered in this particular case. Tlaib says that the justice system is broken and protects white supremacy. 2 people who were killed deserve justice, and so did our communities who continue to be targeted with violence like this. Honestly, I think the 2 people who killed got justice, frankly. Unbelievable. But anyway, what they're doing is deliberately inciting by deliberately lying about what has happened here. They're taking everything out of context. They're removing a bunch of pertinent information because, of course, the justice system works on actions. If you attack someone and they defend themselves from you, then that's lawful. And that's good. The NBA decided to chime in on this. Again, don't know why.
The basketball has something to say.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying? Anyway, our thoughts are with the families of those whose lives are taken in the tragedy. The right to peacefully protest is a bedrock of our democracy. Okay, but where's the connection there? The people who were killed were not peacefully protesting.
Again,
why did you even chime in?
Like this tragic day in which a pedo was shot trying to kill someone. Our thoughts are with him.
Any forms of vigilantism in our society are unacceptable. Okay, well, now you've condemned the rioters. Good. What now? This is pro Kyle Rittenhouse post, is it? Accidentally. And then we get to the insane conclusion of all of this, which you covered earlier, but we'll go through again. The Rittenhouse verdict will be remembered as the moment American fascism turned into Nazism proper, and there was no turning back from the path of the Holocaust. What are you talking about?
Who's going to be Holocausted?
Yeah, I don't know. The people who continue to attack Kyle Rittenhouse, I suppose.
Yeah,
he'll be walking around with his AR-50. Yeah, exactly. He'll just keep reloading. It's like, wow, they're really determined. But
at the age of 90, he's still in the courthouse being like, well, here's the 90th, Keith.
Yeah, I know. Why are you doing this? Why don't you just stop trying to kill him? Anyway, so that's the media. They're stoking these racial divisions, and they're really salty that in this case they lost.
I look forward to them getting sued.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast Lotus Eaters, you can catch us live 1 p.m. UK time on our website, and if you'd like more from us, you can also subscribe to find some of our premium content.
Yeah, we actually have absolutely loads on there now because we're over a year old at this point, so we've got a massive library of content that you can't find anywhere else, such as our regular series, which are Contemplations and Epochs. Contemplations, we have philosophical and scientific discussions, and in Epochs, we have long, in-depth conversations about things that happen in history. This is one we did recently about the Nika riots, the absolutely brutal Nika riots in Constantinople. I really enjoyed doing myself, but we also have we also have loads of expert articles from people who know what they're talking about, such as this one talking about the misnomer of postmodern neo-Marxism. You may well remember Jordan Peterson getting castigated by left-wing activists for using the phrase. Well, it is a bit of a misnomer, but Thomas happens to be an expert in this subject, and so he takes you through it. And as you can see, there is a silver and gold tier member audio track that goes along with it. So if you don't want to have to read it, you can just listen to it instead. But we also have a bunch of premium podcasts that we can't really host on YouTube because of editorial guidelines, shall we say, such as Harry doing this excellent one, What Happened to the January 6th Rioters, and another one, in fact, that Harry and myself did about a whistleblower from a German public broadcaster talking about the COVID coverage and the particularly engineered narrative in which they can't talk about certain things. And so this leaves a bunch of questions up in the air, and we explore that. Again, editorial guidelines mean we can't really host that elsewhere. We also have a bunch of really excellent interviews. I did one recently with a chap called Philip Tanzer. He's if you're a men's rights activist, you may have heard of him because he comes out of that space, but he's also an ex-gay porn star who's turned conservative activist who has some very interesting opinions.
Very interesting trajectory to take.
Yeah, it's the sort of person you're probably not going to meet in your regular life, but he's a fascinating guy. He's a really nice chap. And also follow us on alternative media because, of course, we want to break the stranglehold of Silicon Valley over everything that we do. And this means that follow us on platforms like Getter, where you can follow Lotus_com to get all the latest updates from us. And also, we are speaking, or I am speaking, at a conference hosted by Getter at the London O2, the Indigo section of the London O2 on December the 8th. I'll be speaking there as it's part of the Counterculture conference, where we're talking about why what is happening to the West is happening and what we can do about it. So part of that is following us on Getter and coming and see us, and of course, subscribe because that keeps everything running.